The credibility of the institution is so important that any question raised, belatedly or timely, it will ultimately affect the reputation of the election commission. People are voting for 9 hours after the poll closure. That is something which I could not understand.
So that means no extra addition can be made because the last person in the queue is roll number 1.
So what is this suspense that, till 2 o'clock the voting is going on and more people have voted after 5 p.m. than before 5 p.m.? All these things do raise question. Is it possible to take 35,000 people into confidence to do a fraud? Or if a fraud was intended?
Humanly possible, or is it reasonable enough to raise a doubt at least? Hello and welcome. You're watching me, Sanket Upadhyay, on The Federal. The show is called AI with Sanket. This is the AI of news because news in India today requires not artificial but analytical intelligence. A press conference was held by luminaries, academics, politicians, former election commissioner, lawyers, all of them on one platform in the national capital, where they alleged that there is something unusual in the Andhra Pradesh state elections of 2024. Many of these people noted by scanning the documents in the public domain that unusually high amount of voting happened after the voting process got completed. A total of 52 lakh additional voters voted between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. and past midnight, 17 lakh voters voted in the election of the Andhra Assembly. Now, is this a case of vote chori, or is this a genuine case where voters did turn up in large numbers and when the gates closed, these voters were inside and they voted? We will only know once there is a response from the Election Commission. These luminaries feel that what has happened is unusual. The Election Commission says, why did you wait for 2 years? We are yet to get a representation properly in front of us in the form of a memorandum. But belated it may be, can this allegation be brushed aside by the Election Commission? Is this something unusual? And does this not merit a proper investigation and a proper response? Let's discuss. All right, joining us right now is former Chief Election Commissioner, S.Y. Quraishi. Thank you very much, Dr. Quraishi, for joining us. My first question to you is, these allegations that have now been leveled by very senior, seasoned people who are not known to make flaky allegations. They say that they have credible evidence on the basis of which they're making these allegations that 52 lakh voters voted after 8 p.m. till late in the night at 2 a.m. The speed of voting was 6 seconds per vote. And this is just not humanly possible in an EVM machine which takes 14 seconds to reset. Given these points, our 2024 victory in Andhra Pradesh, I want to ask you, Mr. Quraishi, what should the response of a constitutional body like the Election Commission be?
Well, the Election Commission of India is a very powerful body, no doubt. But at the same time, it is obliged to create an atmosphere of trust, full faith in its working, and it should be open to comment, criticism, questions, and it should answer it to the satisfaction of the people. Arrogance is not its choice, not an option. So, to be dismissive about these complaints, to be dismissive about the political parties, and we have been seeing for the last 4 or 5 years that the parties have been even going to the Supreme Court complaining that the Election Commission is not listening to us. So this is not a desirable thing.
Sir, we did read a statement from sources, attributed to sources in the Election Commission. This is an India Today report, which was filed only yesterday, in which the Election Commission says, where were these people? Where were these people 2 years ago when the election was held? Through official channels, the Election Commission has received no memorandum, no notice, and for people from the civil society to be coming out and leveling these allegations on a constitutional body is a very unconstitutional act. This is source based, mind you. Are you satisfied with this response? That 2 years
Well,
is a long time.
yes, 2 years is indeed a long time, and the delay has to be explained why it has taken so long. Yet, the credibility of the institution is so important that any question raised, belatedly or timely, it will ultimately affect the reputation of the election commission. The image of the commission has to be protected. So therefore, just to dismiss it, look, it is too late and we cannot answer it, is not the best response. After all, because these are all questions of facts, and would have the answers. They should give those answers. But I had seen this presentation, by the way, a couple of days ago, and I was also shocked to see the statistics. And what shocked me is, the delay after the poll closes at 5 p.m. or whatever time, normally 5 p.m. This was the practice always, and including our time, that half an hour after that, at 5:30 p.m., our official will hold a press conference and announce how many votes have been cast during the poll the whole day throughout the election area. It might be the whole country or might be one state. At the same time, he used to make it very clear that there are still some people standing in the queue, and till the queues are cleared, which may take 1 hour, 2 hours, or even 3 hours. So, to that extent, the figure is flexible, and then we'll give you the final figure later tonight. And that is what we used to do. Now, if there are 1,000 votes in a polling station, and in 10 hours they have only, I don't know how many voted, why is it that people are voting for 9 hours after the poll closure? That is something which I could not understand. So, how many people were there? And then, of course, the speed with which and how many every hour and all that, that kind of analysis, those figures were mind boggling. And there has to be some answer which has to be given by the election commission. However, one thing which I mentioned there in the conference, that actually those figures should not be a mystery. A suspense, and let us see at 9 p.m. what will be the figure, or at 10 p.m. what will be the figure. These figures are known at 1 minute past 5 o'clock, because the rule is that after 5 the door closes of the polling booth, and anybody who is at the door, 20, 30, 40 people, they will anybody who has reached the polling station queue at 5 o'clock will be allowed to vote whatever time it takes. All right. And secondly, suppose 50 people are voting, it will never under any circumstances become 75 or 80 or 100, because we issue a slip to each one of them, and slip is given backwards. Suppose we give you number one is the one at the door of the polling station, and number 50 is at the tail of the queue. So, forcibly and illegally, some people may come later and become 60 and 70 or 80, the queue of 80. Not possible, because we issue the slips backwards. The last man, the tail of the queue, is given number one. They cannot be -1. All right. So we have taken all precautions to make sure that there is no hera-peri, no garbar. So now, how many people were issued those slips that 1 minute past 5 o'clock? That is known. That is a public figure that should be actually announced, and they will be waiting. So we know that 50 people were standing in this queue. They will wait for an hour, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. There were 100 people. They will wait for whatever time. So what is this suspense that till 2 o'clock the voting is going on, and more people have voted after 5 p.m. than before 5 p.m. All these things do raise question, and I'm curious to know the answer. Even if it is related to say that this happened, even if it is theoretical, we must understand and we have to answer this question.
Sir, as you were speaking, I did a quick math for you. So, post post 8 p.m., between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m., a total of 52 lakh people voted between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. And there were 3,500 booths. That comes to 1,485 voters per booth after 8 p.m. Now,
Yes.
is this humanly possible, or is it reasonable enough to raise a doubt at least?
You're saying after 5 p.m., not 8 p.m., after 5 p.m.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that is exactly why these figures are raised out and curiosity even in my mind. I want to understand, in the first place, why did it go up to 2 a.m. when it is only a residual of the votes? 50, 60, 100, 200. Majority of people have voted in the 10 hours of the polling time. So for it to continue for 9 more hours and as many votes as were cast during the polling time, that is a question which arouses curiosity and it needs to be answered. However, you raised another point. This was in 3,500 booths. So I explained to the audience there that every booth has five officials inside the booth and five officials outside the booth, so in supervisory roles and security role outside. So every booth has staff of 10. A staff of 10. 30, that which makes it 35,000 people. How is it possible to take 35,000 people into confidence to do a fraud, or if a fraud was intended? So why is it that those people, nobody raised the voice, nobody leaked the information? So there are some unanswered questions also. When this presentation is made, you should also answer this question. So what happened to these 35,000 officials? Official. At the same time, in all these 3,005 booths, there will be the polling agents of at least 4 or 5 parties. Not all parties, not all candidates are able to afford an agent, but the major parties do. Even if this is 3,500 into 4, how many is it? About 14,000. Now, 14,000 political party agents were there. Did they make a noise then? To that extent, election commission's objection is right, because if they had raised noise, the answer would have been different. Now doing it in-depth analysis later on and coming out, although the issues that are raised are definitely serious, I still feel that they should be answered with the proviso that they have to give an explanation why it took 2 years to do this analysis.
Sir, I just want to know and understand from you the procedure. You explained really well the back of the queue counting mechanism once the door shuts. So that means no extra addition can be made because the last person in the queue is roll number one. Now, how is this happening? Now, some of the things where the Election Commission has come under sharp criticism, how will anyone know? Number one, 17C form. Number two, Form 20, which you have also spoken about in this press conference. Then CCTV footage. Was there actually voting happening or not? And on all these things, we've seen that the Election Commission seems to be dilly-dallying. Could you, for the benefit of our viewers, explain each of these checking mechanisms which have been put in place for transparency?
Yeah. Yeah, first of all, dilly-dallying. Whatever the questions are raised, whatever about the figures, we have been seeing for the last 5, 7 years that the final result, how many votes were cast at the end of the day, we don't get to know. The figures are postponed and we'll give you tomorrow, day after, in 5 days, 7 days. It's all rubbish. It's not possible because they're real-time figures. And I'll tell you what I mean by real-time figures. There is a Form 17A. When you go to the polling station at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, Sanket Upadhyay, number one, S5 Quraishi is number two. He came at 2 minutes past 7, and so on. At any given point, we know how many people have cast their vote. So the data is these figures are being generated real time. I was explaining to you 17A. 17A is the roll, kind of a roll call. Who entered the polling booth first, the second, the third, as the voters come in, their name is recorded, so that at any given point, The last entry is the number of votes cast till that time, at 10 a.m., 12 noon, 2 a.m., 4 p.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m. So it's a real time data getting generated every minute. And 17C is a summary of what has happened the whole day. And that 17C has to be given by the presiding officer to every polling agent who is present, and take a signature receipt that I have given you this form, and without that, he cannot go home. This is again real time data released publicly, even if it should ideally be posted on the website of the Election Commission, or it should be announced, even if they have not been doing it wrongly, in my opinion. But at least it is becoming public anyway. In even in the 3,500, if there were four people there, four polling agents, 14,000 people would have got this 17th form. So they know the figure, the real time figure released on that day. So how is it that 2 days or 3 days later some figures are released which are different? It's impossible. Even discrepancy, if one is not possible, because the data, how it was generated, I've just explained to you. It's very, very simple and clear.
So, in a situation like this, Dr. Qureshi, the Election Commission is right in saying that these candidates have signed off on these forms. So, what is the whole brouhaha about? They followed
Yeah.
the process. Legally, for the past 2 years, no one from the opposition has come in and questioned. And for there to be a press conference to accuse the Election Commission of not following process, I just want to understand, where is the lacuna there?
Yeah, but to the extent that the forms were 17C filled up form were given to the polling agent, which is because without that officer, presiding officer cannot leave the polling station. That is true, and the figures have been released. So therefore, the question why is the controversy being raised later? It is being raised because the figures are released on the second and third day are different from what they were released on the day of the poll. This is the main controversy, and it has been happening for the last 4 or 5 years. That how can I have to explain to you? Dear, tell me how can the figures be different? So the figures were announced, given to the polling agents, thousands of them, and in a larger election, lakhs of them. So to say that the figures will take time to accumulate and to calculate, and it doesn't make sense at all.
So you smell a rat in the final tabulation and the time taken in releasing those figures. Specifically because at the end of the polling, the poll percentage in Andhra Pradesh was 68.09%. Sorry if I have the exact figure wrong, but around 68%. 4 days later, it became 81 point something. Is
Yeah.
it natural for
Well,
this to happen?
I would not use the word smell a rat, but it is unusual and it needs to be explained. Because if people in the queue at 1 past 5 is already known, and not one person can be added after that. So there were such long queues that more people came after 5 at 5 o'clock. So that is something which doesn't make much sense to me.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Qureshi. Let's just hope that we get a response and at least some transparency in the electoral process, because, as you've been saying in the past, a very, very vocal advocate of transparency in the election commission and the electioneering process, so that the faith remains in the whole process itself. Let's just hope
Exactly.
that, yes, Dr. Qureshi.
No, no, exactly. Exactly. It is the transparency and the trust of the people in the commission. Can we say that today the nation trusts the election commission entirely as it used to 20 years ago in Mr. C.N. Sessions' time, or even subsequently? We will be living in a fool's paradise if we deny it. Okay, no, 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 everybody trusts. Every day the figures are coming out in the media about the lack of trust, and people respond. When you do well, the trust goes up. When you do badly, the trust goes down. So the trust is normally very responsive to the reality on the ground.
All right, Dr. Quraishi, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.